Good morning children. Today's subject is science. Today we will going to see the next part of lesson number 10, that is force and types of force. In last period we started the types of force. In that we have completed muscular force, mechanical force, then gravitational force and magnetic force. Okay, now today we are going to see the next type of force. So let's see. So the next type of force is frictional force. Frictional force, the name itself having the meaning frictional. Frictional means what? Friction. Friction means what? To rub with each other. Yes, friction means what? To rub with each other. Now that force, frictional force. Now see here one example they given. Okay, carom board everyone know. Yes, when a carom piece is flicked slightly, it slides over the carom board but stops at a certain distance. When we are playing the carom board by using the striker, when we strike to that striker, it will rotate, okay, for some time, and afterwards it gets stops. Then ball also, while you are playing the ball, when you throw the ball, it go some distance, it roll over flat ground, and after some distance then it get stop. Yes or no? Means what? Why that things or object after certain distance it gets stop? Okay, yes, why it stop? Can you think over that? Why after certain distance only that coins on the carom board get stop, or striker get stop, or the ball get stop? Why this happen? Yes, the reason behind that we have to see today. Okay, see, when two surfaces rub against each other, when the two surfaces rub against each other, the force of friction comes into play. In that having the force of friction. Now when we rub our hand also, yes, our hand also, then we generate the heat. Means they are having one type of energy, they are having one type of force. Okay, that type of force is called the frictional force. Rubbing, when the two surfaces rub against each other, the force of friction comes into play. It always acts against the direction of motion, and the force of friction is always acts against the direction of motion. Suppose motion is in one direction, the frictional force is there in opposite direction. Okay, now when a brake is applied while riding a bicycle, yes, everyone is playing no bicycle. So when you riding a bicycle and when you apply the brake, so what will happen? The tire, they are having the frictional force. See where they are having the frictional force. So between the tire and land is there. There are two surface. Which two surface are there? Tire surface and land is there. So when we apply the brakes, they are having the friction between tire and the ground, and so the cycle get stop. So the cycle get stop after applying the brake, as it have the friction when they get rub. Now here one question is there. Why is powder sprinkled on the carom board while playing carom? Yes, everyone observe that. While we are playing the carom board, they are having the one talcum powder. They are spreading on the carom board. Why they spreading the sprinkling the powder on the carom board? Yes, is it everyone know? Yes, see. So you observe, before sprinkling the powder, you play that carom, and after sprinkling the powder, what difference you are observed? Yes, so as you observe it carefully, after sprinkling the powder, that carom board become a very smooth, and so easily within a less force only the striker move. Within a less force only the striker move with a high speed. Yes or no? Within a less force, just you touch, just you simply touch to striker, that striker will rotate with a high speed. Means what happen? Because of this because of this powder, there having whatever may be the frictional force is there. Where is the frictional force in which objects? See here two surfaces there. One is the striker surface and another one is the carom board surface. Yes. striker surface and carom board surface. So within these two surface, when we sprinkle the powder, they are having the less frictional force. As we sprinkle the powder, the frictional force get decrease. Frictional force get decrease. As the frictional force decrease, the coins or striker will rotate with a high speed. The coins or striker will rotate with high speed. Understood everyone? Okay. Now take two pieces of smooth paper and sandpaper. Sandpaper everyone know, which is used to clean or clear the wall. Sandpaper, yes. So you have to take a two paper, smooth paper and sandpaper, and rub against each other. First you rub the two pieces of smooth paper and rub with each other, and two pieces of sandpaper, then rub with each other. What do you observe? In which case they are having the more frictional force? In smooth paper or sandpaper? Yes. In which surface? In sandpaper. Okay. Within the two pieces of sandpaper, they are having the high frictional force. Yes, means what we conclude. See, the smooth surface can be easily rubbed against each other because the force of friction between them is less. Because the force of friction between them is less, so it get rubbed easily. While the rough surface cannot be easily rubbed against each other because they are having the force of friction between them is high. Force of friction between them is high. Understood everyone? Now while we are walking also, they are having the force of friction. See, as we are walking on the ground, they are having the force of friction. If there is no friction, we cannot walk properly because from our leg and that ground, yes, they are having the frictional force, and because of the frictional force it is possible to walk on the ground. If the force of friction is not there, we would slip and fall. Okay, we are very likely to slip while walking on oily or wet floor. If the floor is wet or oily, we get slip. Why? Because they are having the less frictional force. Because they are having the less frictional force, so we get fall down. Understood everyone? Now wooden plank also sometimes used to pulling out a car which is stuck in a mud. Suppose in a mud one car gets stuck, okay, and we have to remove it. We have to pull out. Then how we can pull out that car from a mud? We are using the wooden plank. Okay, so why we are using the wooden plank? The scientific reason is behind that, because of the wooden plank they generate the force of friction, in which a force of friction is generated between the wheel of a car and the wooden plank. Okay, laid down under the car, hence it can pulled out from the mud easily. In short, the force of friction can either be decreased or increased as a desired. Means because of these things, sometimes the force of friction get increased or sometimes the force of friction get decreased. According to situation it happen. Understood everyone? So this is the force of friction. Sometimes the increased force of friction is useful, sometimes decreased force of friction is useful to us. Understood everyone? So now the next type of force we will see in a next video.